Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's webinar. We're going to go over some workflow templates. I'm Emily. I'm an agent product manager at Conduit. Could I get some thumbs up in the chat to see if everyone's here? Yeah. Okay. So we're going to start with workflow templates. Thank you, guys. So to start, if you don't know about workflow templates, these are a pretty new feature. You can find them under workflows, templates, and we have a variety of templates that go over some workflows that customers have asked us to build. And we thought, hey, these are really good templates. Why don't we make these available for all of our customers? So they can be organized into proactive, notifications, and triaging. We just released 3 new templates called guest request additional supplies. You can see the description here where if a guest asks for additional supplies, then the cleaning team is going to be notified via Slack. And then we have our next template, which is courtesy checkups during stay, where a checkup is going to be sent during their stay. Then finally, broadcast message to guests. I'm going to release a poll on which template should we get started with first. So we're going to just dive into how this template was made and then any customizations that we can make so that you guys can implement this template within your own workspaces and know how to make the customizations. Okay, cool. So far, I'm seeing a lot of guest request additional supplies. No one said broadcast to guests, so that's really interesting. Okay. Okay, looks like that's everybody. So here are the results for the poll. Yeah, looks like everyone wants to start off with guest request additional supplies. I also like this template as well because this actually involves using a procedure in conjunction with the template. As always, feel free to ask questions in the chat, either in the webinar chat or the Q&A, and then I'll answer them whenever I get the chance. Okay, thank you, everyone. Okay, now that I'm sharing my screen, I can just go over that again. Basically, I went into templates, workflow templates, clicked guest request additional supplies, use this template. What I did is I copied this procedure right here. Then I went to Agent Hub, Wiki, procedures, and then I made this procedure here. I changed the contact type to guest, listings to all 6 listings. How this workflow works is when I guess I request additional supplies, I put examples of things that some additional supplies that the guest may ask for. And then I actually have 2 different conditions. So if the request occurs before 4 p.m., we're going to call this workflow and the AI is going to respond like someone will coordinate, like we're going to coordinate with our team to drop off the supplies today. But if the request is after 4 p.m., then we're going to still call it the same workflow, but we're going to tell the guest that unfortunately our team cannot drop off supplies today. Okay. Cool. I'm gonna just answer all these questions. Does anyone have any questions about like the procedure or like for this workflow? Okay. Yeah, I can just restart this. Okay. So yeah, we'll go over the workflow, but how this workflow is going to work is this is the guest request additional supplies. For this workflow, we want to use a procedure so that the AI can both respond to the guest and call this workflow. So the procedure is already right here. So what you want to do is just copy this procedure, like in the little note right here. Go to Agent Hub Wiki Procedures. I already made this when my screen wasn't shared, and I just copied and pasted everything here. I added a name for the procedure as well as applying the contact type and the listings. And you can just read the procedure here, but it has 2 different conditions. So it actually has 2 different steps and then it has 2 different conditions. So first, if a guest like asks for additional supplies, first we're going to ask what are the additional supplies that they need. We're going to need this for the workflow later. And then we're going to see if the request occurs before 4 p.m. or if it occurs after 4 p.m. If it occurs before, then the AI is just going to respond like someone is going to drop off the supplies today. If it occurs after, then we're going to let them know that unfortunately our team cannot drop off the supplies today, but we can drop it off tomorrow morning. There's a variable in the work. Yeah, so what this variable does, this is the guest request additional supplies. This variable is what's actually calling the workflow. So if I didn't have this variable, then this procedure is going to run and nothing's going to happen. The only thing that will happen is that the AI is going to respond, okay, like we're going to, we'll drop off, or so we'll coordinate with someone to actually drop off the supplies. But without this variable, the workflow won't be called and like no one's going to be alerted. No one's going to be able to drop off the supplies. So how you can think of procedures are procedures are the ones that are doing the talking with the guest, while workflows are actually doing the action and alerting your team or alerting like your staff. So yeah, for this guest request additional supplies, yes, you can create and insert a variable. So for procedures, the only variables you can call are like workflows. So this is like the name of an actual workflow. I'm going to dive now into the actual workflow so that we can go over like these variables and different customizations. So right now I'm in the guest request additional supplies workflow. I know that the procedure is going to call this because the name in the procedure is exactly guest request additional supplies. This is the initial trigger that's going to connect this workflow to the procedure. So here I made sure that it's for the guest inbox. I gave a name for the AI tool. And then I also gave a description. So this is when a guest requests additional supplies, the AIs will confirm what items they need, and then it'll send a Slack to the rest of the team to coordinate a drop-off. For creating and inserting a variable, that's actually going to be in extract AI info. So if you remember in the procedures, I had the AI ask the guest, what are the exact supplies that you need for us to be dropped off? So here I did extract supplies from that the guest requested from contact context. If you click here, this is add a variable. What this does is we already have some pre-populated variables like within Conduit, such as like reservation price, number of guests, key code, door code. These are all available to the guests, or these are all available to you like already. But right now, there isn't a supplies variable. So I actually want to create that variable. So to create a variable, I'm first going to give a prompt and I'm going to tell the AI like extract this information. The AI is pretty smart and it can recognize like when things are listed as supplies. So for the extracted variable, I'm going to give it the name supplies, and then I'm going to provide a description. You want the description to like be like very specific and accurate because this is going to help the AI be able to get like the most information or know exactly what it needs to pull from. Yeah. Okay, people raising their hands. Okay, Fernanda, did you have a question? Okay. Okay, Fernando, you can answer or you can ask your question if you want
Oh,
to.
sorry, I thought I put my hand down. Apologies.
Okay, yeah, no worries. Okay, cool. Okay, I think that answered. You can have a variable for the workflow. Yeah, so this is a variable that's in a workflow, so supplies. But then in the procedure, this is like this is the variable that's calling a procedure, if that makes sense. Okay. Going back to the guest request additional supplies workflow. So here I extracted the supplies, and now I have this variable called supplies and has a list of the supplies that the guest requested to be brought to the property. I'm going to click save. And here is my Slack. So I want to send a notification to like the Slack channel that has like all my maintenance team. For this example, it's like my 911 Slack channel. And I was able to customize this message. So it's guest request additional supplies. I have the guest name, and then here's where like variables come back. So here I was able to actually grab the reservation guest full name just by using this added variable section. For the reservation confirmation number, I also was able to grab that. These were all available for me. But the variable that like I had to create, which is the extract AI info supplies, that's items needed. And as you can see here, it's right here now. So it was able to grab the supplies from the extracted info, and now it's available for like Slack to be able to send to my team. Okay. Are there any questions about the procedure or this workflow? If not, I can take like any like requests about like how you would want to customize this or anything else that you want to do with this workflow. Okay. Um, okay, wow. There's a lot of people that said I wasn't sharing my screen, so thank you for that. Okay, I guess now I can go into like some customizations that we can do for this workflow. Let me just. So let's say your team doesn't use Slack. Your team doesn't like want to notify like your team doesn't use Slack and they just use like some other messaging channel like email or SMS. What you can actually do is instead of having the send Slack message node, you can instead send a message. So how I would make this customization is I would want to choose who exactly do I want to send this message to. So if you use like AI tool call, this is just going to send a message right back to the guest, which is like, we don't want that. We don't want the guest to receive the message like, hey, you have supplies. So what you want to do is select a contact. And then you can just select someone who's either like head of your maintenance team or head of like customer services, and you can send this message to them. The channel that you want to select, you can do email, SMS, or WhatsApp, or you can also do the last message channel. If you use WhatsApp, we aren't able to send messages like via group. So that's why like usually for all these workflows, we usually send like via Slack. I'm gonna do last message channel, and then you can just copy and paste the same exact Slack message and then just send it like via SMS or like using your last message channel. So to do that, what you would do is just select the specific person that you want to send the or you want to send the message to, select the channel you want to send it to, and then do the message. So right now for this workflow, this will send to Christina Zhu, and it's also going to send a Slack message to like the entire team. Can we use this to post? Okay, Fernando asked, can we use it to post this data on a Google Sheet instead of Slack? Yes, you can do that. So what that would be is a webhook. So to do that, what I would do is first I would just click plus. I would go in and scroll all the way down to send webhook. Okay. Send webhook. And then here, you'll have to go in and get like your API key. What we usually do instead of having people do this through Google Sheet is they'll do like Airtable or Aperto or like whatever software that their maintenance team uses. And then they'll just grab the API key from like Aperto or from Airtable, add that information here. And then what this will do is it'll, instead of sending a Slack message or in addition to sending a Slack message, add that information to like Aperto or Airtable. But good question. Okay. Um, okay. Does anyone else have any questions about this guest request additional supplies workflow or about how the procedure ties in with the actual workflow? If not, then we can move on to the next one, which is courtesy checkup during stay. Okay. Okay, cool. We'll move on to courtesy checkup during stay. So again, now we're starting seeing my entire screen. So we're gonna go to workflows, templates, and then courtesy checkup during stay. This, if you remember, this one, like this workflow had a bunch of required connections, so using Slack. This one doesn't, so this one you can implement right away. For this workflow, the goal is we want to send a checkup message to our guests like during their stay. So how it works is 2 days after the guest checks in, we're going to review the past conversations and gauge sentiment. And if the experience has been positive, the AI is going to send a personalized checkup message asking if they enjoy their stay or offering support if they need it. So here is where I actually have the first trigger, which is the guest checks in. So when a guest checks in, I'm gonna select the guest inbox and I'm gonna have like the start of the workflow, which is 2 days after the guest checks in. These are all customizable. You can do like months, seconds, days. You can also do before a guest checks in. So you can do 2 days before a guest checks in or after checks in. So I would just make sure that all these filters are working, or all these like selections are working. We're going to use the extract AI info node again. What this is going to do is it's going to extract the sentiment of your contact based on the previous messages. So Conduit's pretty good about like doing sentiment analysis, especially our AI. So we're able to look through the entire conversation between your AI agent or like your team and the guest and extract how is the guest actually feeling? Like, are they having a positive experience, negative, or neutral experience? Also, did the guests encounter any issues during this day? So if you want to grab anything, like if you want to extract any information for AI extract info, where's this AI getting this information from? It's getting it from contact recent messages. So you can either use contact recent messages, or you can also use contact contacts. Since this is based on the conversations between the customer or between the guest and like the AI or the team, I'm just going to keep it with contact recent messages. Now I want to have like a variable. So the variable is going to be the sentiment of the contact based on the previous message. So here I just did the guest had a good experience. So if the guest had a positive experience, return true. Otherwise, return false. This type is a Boolean, so it's going to return either true or false. And why I chose a Boolean is because I actually have this branch. So in this branch, if the guest had a good experience, so if that variable is equal to true, which is this true path, is going to send an AI message. So how an AI message is different than sending a regular message is you don't even have to write the message. All you have to do is provide instructions for the AI. So I'm telling the AI, like, you are a representative of the property. Ask the guests if they've been enjoying their stay and if there's anything we can do to make their stay better. If their request or if the guest like responds negatively, let them know that someone will be there to be in touch and assist them. We recommend using send AI message instead of sending a message because if you have this use previous message turned on, the AI can actually use like context from the past messages to have like a more personal message to the guest. And this is like, so you're not just sending the same like generic response to every single guest. You're actually tailoring each message to like the guest, and it makes them feel like, oh, I'm talking to an actual person. I'm not just talking to an AI. If you're using send AI message, make sure to enable a fallback channel. What a fallback channel does is in the event that there is no like last message channel, so like there's like no, or like the AI isn't able to send a message like through their last message channel, like either that's like they remove their phone number, they remove their email. You can just choose which channel you want to send the message to. You can do email or SMS. So for email, you would just select your email name or like what you would send from, your sender name subject, and it would use the same instructions from your AI to generate another message. So let's say the guests actually had a bad experience. They had like a neutral or a negative experience. We don't want to either bother them more or we just want to like let our team know. So instead of sending the customer a message, I would just like leave a note. This is also a new node that we added this week. So for this, it's called Note from AI. The AI is basically saying, I did not send this guest the standard checkup message since they seem to be unhappy. It's going to leave this note for a specific person. So Christina Zhu is like our maintenance person. So it's going to leave a note for the maintenance person like, hey, this person seemed unhappy. I'm not going to respond to them. Okay. Are there any questions about the courtesy checkup stay and just how this workflow works? And then I can dive into actually how we can customize this. Okay. So going into some of the customizations. So sometimes we have guests or sometimes we have customers who they want to know like the exact like customer experience like this guest is having. So instead of doing like what I did here, which is the guest had a good experience and doing like a true or false like Boolean, what you can do instead is do rate the experience of the guest. And here what I would do is I would just write out like can the AI like just give like assign a number to this guest and like explain like what their experience was like. So instead of having like true, false, like did they have a good experience, we can instead have like return the guest sentiment as positive, negative, or neutral. You can also just give it like a number too. So you can just say or rate their experience from 1 to 10. Here, you can also just like assign like a number or a string. So I'm going to use a string because I'm asking for a positive, negative, neutral. But if I wanted to do like rating their experience from 1 to 10, I would just do like a number value instead. And this allows for like a lot more complicated workflows. So instead of having this branch of did the guest have a positive experience, I would instead like do a filter. So I would use this filter node. I would do when extracted info because that's the variable or that's the node where I actually made this variable, rate the experience of the guest. So if the experience of the guest is positive, or if the experience of the guest is neutral, this filter is only going to send the message to guests who had a positive or neutral experience. And then I would just like remove this and then connect it here. So if you want to like not have this leave a note feature and leaving a note for a specific maintenance team, what you can do instead is just ask the AI to say, hey, how did this guest like experience or yeah, how did the guests like feel about their entire stay? Were they positive, negative, neutral? Here, it will filter out for only the positive or the neutral experiences. So basically everything that isn't negative. And then this is where it's going to send the AI message. So this would be really cool that this would be a really cool way for you to customize this and not have to leave a note. You can also get even more complex where you can make a additional branch where, okay, let's say they had like a negative experience. So I'm just gonna make a new workflow for this. Let's say a guest had a negative experience and we want to actually get data or we want to know like, okay, why did they have a negative experience? Instead of leaving a note that, hey, the AI didn't respond, what I would want to do instead is I would click send a Slack message, select my specific channel, and I would say like, I guess had a negative experience. Check to see if anything. So this will just alert your Slack channel that someone had a negative experience and someone should check to see if they can improve their stay. you can include like let's see, you can include like variables in this as well. You can include like the guest's full name. You can include the actual link to the messages so that whoever is like in charge of your Slack, they can actually go in, click on a link, and then go into the actual inbox where they can just look at their message and read it for themselves. I personally don't like reading the messages like myself. Instead, what I want to do is I can either do contact context, or right before this, I would do extract AI info, and I would do like extract a summary of the past like 10 messages from their recent messages. And then here I would just use that same summary variable that I used in the previous workflow, and then do summary. Then now I have that summary variable right here, and I would go to send a Slack message. Instead of having the contacts inbox link or contact context, now I have this variable available to me. And then now, if a guest had a bad experience, I'm going to get their full name, their inbox link. I can get the conversation between them, or I can also just get a summary because I don't want to read the messages between them. I just want the AI to read it and summarize it for me. Okay. Okay, any questions about the courtesy checkup during stay or any customizations that you want me to make for this? Okay. You can go into our last template, which is broadcast to guests. So broadcast to guests, we're going to need an SMS or phone to actually use this, but we can also make changes so that we don't have to. So this is actually a request from one of our customers. So they said that they wanted to send a message to multiple guests because they're like in Hawaii and they have a tsunami warning. For this like tsunami warning, they had to manually send a message to every single guest that was staying at their property. But like we said, like, oh, like why don't you just have a workflow for this? So this will broadcast a message to multiple guests. How it works is when a team member, so one of your staff, wants to broadcast a message, an AI agent is going to send a message specifically to guests that are checked in and or staying like at a specific property. Also, we're going to use send AI message so that each message is tailored to that specific guest and it's not just like a broad, so that it gets the same information, but like everything's tailored to the guest. So we also have a lot of information here, so you can read this as well. But for this manual trigger, I want to send this to the guest inbox. So, oh. Fernando. So for measuring how effective they were, I'll go into that after we build out this workflow, but you can find that information in the dashboard. So for this manual trigger, so when you click trigger manual workflow, like up here on the right, I'm gonna send a message. So when you click trigger manual trigger manual workflow on the top right, you can actually select the specific contacts where the workflow can run, or you can just select all contacts. So I'm just going to use last message channel. And I'm going to publish to pick contacts. So I'm going to publish this. So here I'm in the guest inbox, click save, publish to pick contacts, trigger manual workflow. And then here I'm going to select all the contacts. So how this will work is even though I selected like all of my contacts, this message isn't going to be sent to all the contacts because we have filters that are in place later. So if I click, okay, so if I click share all, select all contacts, it's just going to run this workflow for everybody. Here is extract AI info. Here I want to extract, okay, I want to make the information from the contact available. So this will allow the AI to have access to the reservation name, the listing they're specifically staying at, and then also like anything that's sort of related to the guest. Here I have the reservation status is checked in. You can select the reservation status by just going to contact data because I made it available in extract AI info. And then here I just scrolled down to reservation status. And I wanted to make sure that they were all checked in so that I'm not sending the message to people who have checked out already, who have confirmed reservations, or just like, I want to make sure that they're people that have actually checked in. And now for filtering for a specific property. So you can either send this to all of your properties, like if all of your properties like have a tsunami warning, then you would just delete this filter. But for this case, I have one specific property that I want to send the tsunami warning to, or like a construction or like construction things to. Like this property has construction. So what I would do is I would do contact data, listing internal name, and I would write out what is my listing internal name. So like if it's property one, I would just like write out exactly what that listing internal name so that it can be available for the AI to use and like actually filter for it. If there's multiple properties that I want to send this message to, I would just do the same thing again. So I would just do when listing internal name and have that be for property two. And this allows you to actually be able to control specifically which properties this message is being sent to. Finally, after I did, this also relates to like when I did this manual trigger, even though I selected all of my contacts, this filter is going to remove the people who haven't been checked in, and the people who like aren't staying at like property one or property two. For send AI message, I'm going to use like email. So I'm going to keep use previous message turned on so that we can again use the previous message as context so that we can have messages that are specifically tailored to each guest. I'm going to select my provider and the sender name. And then here is like the prompt that I'm giving the AI. So you're a representative of the property. You're alerting the guest that they need to evacuate due to an emergency. This is all completely customizable. You can like say like you are alerting guests that there's construction nearby. Or you can just customize this to whatever message that you want to send out to all of your guests. You can also add signatures. So you can add your signature here. So it can be from best, your host. Yeah, you can do best your host. You can do like best Alex, your AI rep. Or if you don't want them to know that it's an AI message sending this, you can just do like Alex from property name. So yeah, again, completely customizable. And here you can see like in the event that your primary message channel doesn't work or fails, you can also enable a fallback channel. And this is where you can select, hey, I want to send this via SMS, or I used email for up here. So if you aren't able to send something via email, you can of course send it through SMS, or you can just like reverse it too. You can instead send it via SMS. And here you would send it via email. Okay. I'm gonna answer some questions. I really recommend this workflow just because, again, if you don't have to send like a broad message to a lot of people, you can just do that directly with the workflow. And instead of spending like hours sending a message to every single guest, you can just have a workflow that will send it that took like 5 minutes to set up. If you want to send it to different people, like let's say you want to broadcast a message to all of your hotel staff instead of all your guests, I would just change this to hotel staff, change the filters from instead of reservation status to like if they're on a specific team or whatever, like your contacts are based on for your staff, and you can just send the message here. Okay. Pablo, okay, so kindly share the recording after the call. Yeah, I can share the recording. They're all on our YouTube channel. Okay. Fernando says, these workflows are essentially about triaging and closing the loop to action something. It feels very operational. I'm wondering, other operation apps usually don't have the ability to catch issues as they happen and immediately act on them. They're great for reporting maintenance and similar tasks, but has anyone been able to use these triaging workflows into data points we can assess, for example, to measure how effective they are? So you'll actually be able to do this on the Insight page. So here you can see, this is my test account, so I like have bad automation, but here you can actually see like what are the actual messages that are being sent, and you actually are able to get like the hard data on the messages that workflows have sent. So for sent messages breakdown, you can see like, oh, which messages have been sent by workflows, which ones have been sent by AI, and which ones have been sent by users. So we have this like new dashboard right here. We also have the manager dashboard. So here you can see like what are your median response times and the messages sent by users, or if you have like any tickets that users or your AI agent have resolved, you can see those as well. We also have our positive conversation rate. We can go into an actual working, we can go into like an example, like workspace. So here you can see they have a good AI automation rate. We aim for around like 80%. But here you can see that in sent messages by breakdown, they have a lot of messages that are sent by the AI so that your customers are able to actually get responses from the AI. If you go into their manager dashboard, you can see the median response time by users in minutes. Here you can see that the AI, like by a long shot, is able to handle customer requests and get back to customers like a lot faster than any of like the AI agents or than any of the like actual staff members. And then here you can also get like the positive conversation rate. So this goes back to like what I was saying about how Conduit's like AI agents are really good at like sentiment analysis. So here you can see like the AI agent rate. So the positive conversation rate for the AI agent. But I think what's most important is just messages sent by user and also median response time. As a customer, like I think it's better for me to like have updates and whoever's something out, and quick response times are always better than like a longer response. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, are there any other questions about like any of the three workflows or anything that we went over in like this webinar? Okay, I'm going to share a different screen. So this is just our closing remarks. So if you have any other questions, feel free to ask your onboarding specialist. Like we're always here to help. Our webinars are going to be available on our YouTube channel. So go to Conduit AI on YouTube and you'll find like a whole playlist of all of our past webinars. We also have a school community that I'll just copy and paste this in the chat. But yeah, feel free to join our school community. We have a lot of information, especially about webinars and things that you can do like to join like the Conduit community. And you can, of course, always contact support for any questions that you have. Okay. Great. If there's not any other questions, we can close out here, but also happy to stay on and answer any questions. Okay, well, bye everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Our next webinar is going to be more about procedures. Oh, where's the link that you shared? That's a great question. Yeah, okay, I'll put the link. Okay, this is the link. Okay, I have the link now. I'll send it here. Okay, can you show the last workflow again, please? Okay, I'm gonna go back to my workflow templates. That one is broadcast to guests. What this workflow does is you want to send a message to like a bunch of people. So like all of the people that are staying in a specific property. What you want to do is use contact so that the AI has access to all of the information that the contact has. You have filter, which is making sure that all the reservations are actually checked in. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. I'm back to broadcast guests. This is also under workflows templates. Okay. Is it sharing now? I think it's sharing now. Here, we want to make sure that manual trigger, have this inbox selected for your actual guest. Extract AI info. This allows the AI to have access to the reservation status and any information that is related to like that specific contact. So name, email, phone number, like what listing they're staying at. This filters for that they're actually checked in, also for specific properties. And this will actually send a message to let the guest know, like, hey, you need to evacuate, or whatever prompt you want to get the AI to respond to. Okay, well, thank you so much everyone for joining. Yeah, again, our next webinar is going to be more about procedures and how you can write procedures to like trigger these workflows or just procedures in general. Okay, thank you everyone.